Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Glasstronomy. Today we are converting an antique window frame mirror into a stained glass piece. Thought you might be interested in seeing how it's done. So this is the mirror that came in, and as lovely as they thought it was, it had a crack in the middle, and they decided instead of replacing it again with mirror that we were going to put in glass. Stained glass, colored stained glass. So I numbered the panels because never assume that anything is square or identical, even though it should be. Most of these are handmade and therefore subject to human error, which makes it original. So number them before you translate their sizes into stained glass. These are the colors they chose. We've got a yellow wispy and an aquamarine Caribbean blue wispy. I think we're going for a sea and sun sort of effect here. Nothing like being warm on a winter day. As you can see, the mirror is being held in by framing spikes, so I'm going to use a lead knife and a pair of needle nose pliers to pull out the spikes. I'll use the lead knife to lift the spike and then the plier to pull it out. Some of the spikes are pretty loose, being that the frame is old and the wood is soft, so do be careful when you're pulling out your spikes that you don't wreck the wood and make the whole project futile. Once the spikes are removed, just carefully lift the panes out of their pocket. You'll see the routed edge. And this is why I numbered them, because each pane is slightly different in size. Even though we like to think everything's going to match, it doesn't. There are slight variances, as you can see. Okay. So always number the panes so that you can make the proper cuts. Pay attention to the grain when you're cutting your glass, when you're tracing your pattern onto your stained glass. You don't want it going in all different directions around the panel. If you're going to trace the glass directly onto your stained glass, so the old glass that you're replacing onto your new glass, do remember that your marker line is actually outside of your glass shape, and cut off your marker line when you are scoring your glass. Otherwise your piece will grow and may not fit back. And also use a marker that you can actually see. I had to retrace this with a gold marker. The silver one wasn't actually working very well. To cut the straight lines on the stained glass, I use a bar board. This is a Morton system, and I'm using a pistol grip glass cutter. This is meant for stained glass. Having the right tools really helps. If you don't feel confident in doing this, do contact your local stained glass studio and they can do it for you. When your pieces are cut, pop them back into the frame and make sure everything lines up. Grain and the sides and everything gives you a little bit of wiggle room without falling through the holes. When you secure the pieces back into the wood frame, you've got several choices. The two options that we're considering here is A, putting the framing spikes back into the wood, or B, framing off the glass and applying silicone to seal the piece. Depending on the condition of the wood will depend on which technique you use. If the wood is looking brittle or soft, or if taking out the nail spikes created any torque in the framing, you're not going to want to trust that the wood is going to be the most supportive element. In that case, I would tape off the glass and use silicone. Not only does it keep the glass in place, but it adds an extra stability for the whole frame in general. Also, considering at what kind of ease do you want to be able to change this glass again. If you wanted to be able to change the colors in the frame regularly, let's say seasonally you wanted to apply different colors, if this was something that you put up for the holidays, then I would go back to the framing spikes. They're more easily removed from the frame and allow you to change the glass. So here is what you would get, spikes versus silicone. In this case here, we've decided to go with the silicone effect, the silicone seal, because the glass we're replacing the mirror with is transparent. And unlike the mirror, which has a opaque backing, this you can actually see through, which means that you're going to be able to see the spikes at an angle from the front side, and that is not appealing. A nice clean silicone bead hidden in the routered edge is a much cleaner finish. So in this case, silicone wins. Something else to consider is the authenticity of the frame. If this were a classified antique and had some documentation, some serious value, then I would make the spikes work, and we probably wouldn't have used a transparent glass, because adding the silicone could change the quality of the antique. Okay, all the glass is taped off, and I absolutely recommend taping off the glass. I don't know how well you think you can apply silicone, but this way you don't have to ask yourself that question. This will keep the bead nice and clean and where it belongs. I use clear silicone and a caulking gun, and I angle cut my tip. When I'm applying it, let's see if I can do this. Run along the edge, so don't go too fast. Take my finger and just make it nice. You do want to keep a cloth nearby. Keep your finger clean. Always want to work in a clean workspace. Keeps your projects nice. Okay. Just make sure I don't have any gaps. Looks pretty good. Okay, and then I'll very carefully peel off the tape while it's wet. Might be a two-handed project. You might need to hold down your glass with one hand and keep the tape from landing on your glass with the other. So I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's done. Okay, all the silicone is in and all the tape removed. Like I said, you want to do that while it's wet, otherwise it tends to lift your silicone and leave you a raised edge. Now it's soft enough that it will fall, and everything is sealed. And now we do not lift it for a good few hours anyway to move horizontally, but I'd leave it horizontal for 24 hours to be sure, and then hang and enjoy. There you go.